Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to Broadscast, everyone.
Hello.
So, how's it going, peeps?
Speaking of peeps.
Peeps
are back on the market, right?
Peeps.
Peeps.
Okay, we need to know this. I'm gonna go over and create an image for this. Are peeps amazing or are they disgusting? Kim?
I don't eat the peep.
Peeps are bad, people. Stay away from the peeps.
Yeah.
They're a gateway to something. I don't know.
Anyway.
No, but I really want to know who eats the peeps. You know what the other one is? Those eggs. Those
Cadbury eggs.
Cadbury eggs. Do you like those?
What's in them? I've never eaten them.
I don't
There's
even
like
wanna
oozy,
know.
gooey things, right?
Yeah.
That come out. I don't know. I don't like the oozy stuff. I don't know.
I'm moving on. Moving on, Kim.
Yeah.
So, those are the two things I want to know today. That's imperative.
Those were pressing. You didn't even
You
know
must
that
go
was...
over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/broadscast, and let us know. Cadbury eggs? Peeps? Are they like a gift from
Okay, I know that this
Jesus?
is not at all what we've been talking.
This is so not even what we were doing
I know, but
today.
well, good morning. This is Broadscast with Jackie McDougall and myself, Kim Goldman, and we are just usually diving right into things. This is sort of a introduction into Jackie's and my brain, where we have 7 different conversations,
it's a
and whatever one
trip
makes its way to the front and comes out. That's what we tackle first. But I've been paying attention to how candy companies keep rebranding themselves. And so like Starburst is announcing or is releasing a pink flavor Starburst.
It's the best news I've ever heard.
But
It's the only one I like.
But it's brilliant, right? Like
Yeah.
it's brilliant. So that's what my son says too. It's the only one he likes. But then I was seeing that there was like some other candy. It was like Reese's peanut butter cup bites, but it's merged with something like it's like too much.
They're taking like some like the M&Ms take that for example. Like then you have like the Nestle Crunch version and the peanut butter version and and you can't even go to a party anymore and assume that it's either plain or peanut. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hey, now I'm they're diving into these crazy worlds.
Yeah, but I'm like that's kind of in some ways I'm thinking it took you that long to figure that out or and then there's like new things and there's
we're tackling the world of candy, people.
But I've been noticing it lately.
Yes.
But anyway, speaking of
they should leave well enough alone, don't you think? And
sometimes,
of those yeah.
Except for when it comes to pink Starburst.
But don't you notice though, and we talked about this recently offline, like nothing is original. So our shows are all spin-off of or like remakes of 70s, 80s, whatever. Like our candy, have we tapped out? Like, are we out? 2017 is the year of no more original ideas.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like everything is I remember when Friends came out, right? Because if you listen to the show, you know that there's usually a Friends reference sometime in the hour. But when Friends came out, everybody was trying to be like the next Friends.
Right.
Now I feel like everything that comes out is trying to be the next version of what was once successful.
I know.
Which maybe wasn't even as successful. Like the nostalgia thing, I think.
Yeah.
One day at a time, really?
Well, they redid that. That's
why I'm saying it.
Oh. I was like, oh, wait, I know this answer.
Fuller House. Anyway. Nostalgia. It's not enough.
One good fight. Yeah.
What was it? Oh yeah. I thought that was a joke.
I know.
The Good Wife.
The Good Wife. The Good Fight.
Yeah. I was like, oh look, someone did a spoof, and then I realized it's a spinoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway, so last night we had a field trip, a Broadscast field trip.
We did indeed.
Tell our friends where we went, Kim.
We took our families to American Ninja Warrior, the celebrity version. It was to celebrate Red Nose Day, which is a nationwide campaign to combat children's issues, diseases, cancer, right? Isn't it?
All of it.
All
Seems
of it.
like it's like
everything.
Yeah.
The show is airing on March 24th, but we were at the celebrity version.
Live taping.
We
went. She's like, we were the celebrity. No, we were the people watching.
Yeah, we were the ones in the pool. And so we were able to watch.
Wouldn't that be awesome if people were in the pool when they fell in?
Like catching them?
Yeah, no, but just
come
like
to me,
cheering.
Yeah,
Yay, like that Woody Woodpecker. Remember? With the,
so we were able to, witness a handful of celebrities who were coached by some
the most famous
ninjas, and they ran the course. And if they completed certain levels of the course, they raised money and hit different milestones to raise money for
so there was some
Red
good celebs there.
So when
Natalie
we were there,
Morales was there.
We saw Natalie Morales. We saw Jeff Dye. He's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
And Nikki Glazer and
Mina Suvari
and Erica
Christensen. We're going to talk about her in a second because we had a revelation.
And Ashton Eaton. Right?
And what was his name?
The
Olympian, yeah, and Derek Huff.
Oh, right, Derek Huff.
Yeah, so we can't tell you how they did, or else American Ninja Warrior will come and kill us.
Yeah,
and it would be. Although if we Facebook Lived it might be good for our show.
Yeah. And then, true confession, there was a celebrity that was there that you and I had no idea who he was, and he was totally mugging for the camera. Like, he wanted all this attention. We had no idea who he was.
I kept calling him The Situation.
Yeah, I felt so bad because I was like, who is this guy? He's probably on a reality show. Mind you, he's like a famous baseball player.
It's Nick Swisher of, the Braves
Sorry,
and the Yankees.
Nick.
And sorry, if you're not on the Red Sox, I'm not interested.
I was like, go Cubs. Yeah. But I felt terrible. I had no idea. No idea.
But he was very personable and
but I felt bad. He made no impact on the people he was trying to rally up. And then he was amazing. So, he was great. But
you know what I loved though about the crowd? Did you notice that they were more excited about the ninjas? Like, that's why they were there. That's why we were there. As much as these celebrities are great and they're on some of our favorite programs and things like that. Like,
but we didn't know who they were going to be till we got there.
Right. But I'm just saying, when I saw them, it was like, oh, cool. But like seeing Jessie Graff and Casey,
right?
Cataranzo, I believe it is, but I just call her Casey because we're best friends. And Grant,
Flip
McCartney, and Flip, and all those guys. Like they're kind of icons in our house, when we watch the show. So it was really cool to watch the kids too. Yeah. Like
and we ended up being in a spot where all the interviews took place after they succeeded or failed. And so my son, who hates the whole concept, he was totally mugging, and he was like, "Mom, did you see I threw up the surf sign like 3 times? He did it." And he's like, and I kept moving. I'm like, oh my God, I was hiding.
Well,
I was totally hiding.
I have to call you out on this. Well, not call you out on this, but the best thing ever was the fact that here's Natalie Morales being interviewed after her run.
Yeah.
And you're standing behind her.
Right. Like,
and you've been
plain view.
Yeah.
I was like, hi. I'm like on her shoulder.
Yeah. And you've been interviewed.
Yeah.
Probably more than once.
Yes.
By Natalie Morales.
Yeah.
So she's going to watch herself and be like, is that Kim Goldman? The ghost of Kim Goldman.
I know, but that's why I was like turning my face. I was like trying to hide my face. I was like, oh my God, this is so
funny.
awkward.
I wonder how many people will watch the show and be like,
what's Kim? Yeah. I really was trying to hide, and then I'm like, I don't know how obvious that is.
Thankfully, you have all that hair.
I did. Yeah. I was trying to hide behind my hair, and I was like trying to be in my kid. You know?
I mean, I was doing bunny ears behind you, so I don't know. They'll probably notice you, but yeah. But we had a revelation, and I think that this is important to talk about because
that we don't belong on that show.
Well, that was not a revelation.
Oh, that
that was very clear. Erica Christensen, who, if you watched Parenthood, what was her name on the show?
Oh, my God,
man.
We don't need to look it up. It's okay. She was the blonde who was the lawyer who was married to Sam Yeager, right?
Sam Yeager, yeah.
Sam Yeager. And they had the daughter, and then they adopted a kid, and he became the stay-at-home dad. He was the construction worker, and she had an affair, right, on the show. Yeah. They lived in that beautiful house. She was was she the middle sister? Was she the youngest? I can't remember.
She was definitely the youngest sister.
Yeah, but she was
Julia,
right.
and Joel.
Right. Julia
okay, so Kim and I loved big time Parenthood.
Bigly. Mm-hmm.
Bigly. And so we would bawl constantly. I mean, it wasn't even like, it was like ugly cry, right?
Totally.
I mean, snotty snots and all of it.
Yeah.
And then, This Is Us has come out this season, and you can't swing a cat without hitting somebody who's bald at This Is Us.
Right.
And I turned to you and I said, I just, when I saw her, and then
we
Sam
saw him.
Yeager was there. I'm burying the lead.
Yeah.
First we saw him and we like, what is he doing here? Oh my God, it's Joel. And then I said, imagine if he and Julia are still together. And then here she was competing. And it was like, oh my God, my dreams have come true.
Yeah. It's a Julia and Joel spinoff.
Yeah. On American Ninja Warrior. So, so then we talked about This Is Us. I have never ugly cried. I love the show. Well, actually, I like the show.
Yeah, so
are we broken?
No, so I think that I don't know, because I watch people get all ready for This Is Us on social media, and I have DVR'd every episode. Like Parenthood, I never did. I sat down. Sam and I watched it. Like maybe
Sam Yeager.
Yeah, come over late at night.
Yeah,
my kid. I was consistently watching the show. I didn't want to miss it. Sam enjoyed it with me. For This Is Us, I didn't get sucked in to it from the beginning. It took me a couple episodes to be like, oh, okay. And I like it, but I don't feel as moved by it the way that I did with Parenthood. And I don't know why. I don't think it's a bad show. I know people that love it. I just don't have the same.
What do you think that is? Do you think it's just you're related to things more? Because, well, when I look at Parenthood, it was like watching my life sometimes on camera.
I don't relate to any of the characters on This Is Us. Like, I don't. I don't really find myself connecting to the characters. Like, there's nothing.
I find Mandy Moore's character to be really annoying. The mom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I understand her. But
yeah, I think so. Apologies if you've never watched a show, but like, I don't necessarily always have to feel a connection to a character to be able to enjoy the show. However, I think that for me is the distinction between Parenthood and This Is Us.
Correct.
I found myself connecting to almost all of the characters in Parenthood in some way, whatever it was. I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of me there. But in This Is Us,
or you could identify their situations. You could identify,
But with This Is Us, I'm not. And the back and forth, sometimes it's jarring.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I think actually that's probably part of it. That once you start to, for me, I can only speak for myself, when you start to invest, or I start to invest some feelings, now I'm like trying to figure out where we are.
Right. Like, right.
So if I have to try to figure out, it takes me out of the emotional
place. It takes me out of
place.
the emotion.
Oh, now we had an epiphany.
And I think that's, I appreciated it in the beginning, but I didn't realize it was going to be so much of the show that it was going to be like two different shows running at the same time within the show. So I'm feeling disjointed, I think.
That's interesting. I feel that way sort of with How to Get Away with Murder.
I've never watched that show.
Really? I'm like, so you want to be in axe murdering?
Like,
I like to confuse all the.
Yeah, I've never watched
How
that
I
show.
Met Your Murder.
Yeah, I've never. And so sometimes those shows, they don't work for my brain. But I will say that I have been emotional because I am not dark on the inside. But during This Is Us, I definitely, the writing is beautiful.
I had that one moment. Yeah. When he was like,
don't tell.
Thanking.
Don't tell, because people may have not watched it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just watched it yesterday, that episode you were talking about.
I'm just saying that
there was a moment.
Father.
I know, but if people haven't watched it yet, they don't know that what you're about to say.
Yeah, but all right.
Just in case. Because you would have ruined it for me because I just watched it yesterday.
Well, you should get your life together.
I can't, man.
Hey, so we have a guest on the show today, Kim.
Oh, right.
She's a digital powerhouse, I have to say. And I'm excited to introduce her to the rest of the world. Many of you probably already know her.
Ooh.
Look how mysterious I am.
I know.
I should do this. I should write promos
You should do this for a living. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I should tease people what will be on next. Yeah, but her name is Christine Koh, and she's going to rock your socks off.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's a new phrase.
Isn't it knock your socks off? And how do you knock your socks off anyway? How do they knock off? Don't they just come off?
Wouldn't they roll off?
Yeah. Slip off.
And then if your feet are wet, you definitely can't knock them off.
Yeah. Huh.
That would be bad.
I think we should have a show about those things.
You think so?
I do.
Yeah. I will be right back.
Check out the Broads on Instagram at Broadscast.
Hey, so we're
Hi.
back at
Sorry.
Broadscast. Hey, today's show, audible.com is the place to listen to books.
Audible.
Did you know that?
I do.
I am finished with my You Are a Badass book, and I am recommending it to everybody I come across. And you can get it for free, as well as a free month trial of Audible. So just go to audibletrial.com/broadcast. audibletrial.com/broadcast. Free month, which is only $15 a month after, and you get book credits. But you also get a free audiobook download. So you can go get You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, who's coming on the show soon. So how exciting is that? Yeah. So without further ado, though, I told you she's awesome, and we get to talk to her today. Christine Koh, welcome to the show.
Hello, ladies. So happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. So it's funny because I was reading your bio and I got a little tired.
That's so funny.
Like you do it all. First of all, you created Boston Mamas, which back at a time when that whole hyperlocal thing was like not even a thought in a lot of people's minds.
It wasn't a thing. Yeah. And then it became a thing. Very exciting.
And, and I love a Boston broad. So being from Boston myself, but you also have Edit Your Life podcast. You're the creative director at Women Online, the co-author of Minimalist Parent, and also the co-owner of Brave New World Designs. You've been seen, as you know this, in the New York Times, Boston Globe, Redbook, NPR, all that stuff. Christine, welcome.
Hi.
Hello, broads.
Isn't it funny when you actually hear your bio or read your bio and you're like, whoa, when did I do that?
I know. And I get a little, I don't know, not embarrassed, but I feel like it goes on a little long. But the reality is there are a lot of things going on at the moment. Some of them accidental.
It's funny you say that. I gave a speech over the weekend, and this is Kim, by the way. Hi, Christine. I gave a speech over the weekend, and they read my bio before I got up on the stage, and I was like, oh God, they're using the long bio. And I was mortified, and I got up there and I stopped myself, and because my speech was supposed to be about women and empowering women, and I thought, why am I diminishing my long bio? Like, I earned those credits, right? But there is that moment of like, oh God, oh my God, oh there she goes, oh she's going to mention that, oh, and there was that moment that I was like embarrassed and proud at the same time, but the embarrassment was like just inching its way just a little bit above the pride.
Well, you should be less of an achiever.
But do you feel that? I mean, like you just said, like, do you feel that ever when people talk about all of your accomplishments? Do you see them that way, or do you see them like, this is just me and my everyday Tuesday?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. I think I was experiencing, and when you were just sharing, I was thinking, man, I wonder if guys ever feel that, or if they're just like, yeah, look at all those things I did. If this
totally
is just a
thinking the same.
female.
Don't forget that. You forgot that. You didn't put that on there. Yeah.
Right. And, hey, I love guys. I'm not, but I'm also about smashing the patriarchy. So I can't help but have my feminist lens on everything.
Yeah. And I think that the first thing to do is for us to enjoy and step back and look at our accomplishments and be proud of them, and not try to, it's like, I feel like we kind of try to talk ourselves down so we're not intimidating to other women.
Well, there's also an element of gloating. Like, I try to teach this with my son. Like, I don't want to see my son gloat. And I kept telling them that so much that now he doesn't even like express excitement or pride when he does accomplish something. Like, I have beaten it into his head, like, there's no gloating. And I'm like, dude, you just shot 18 points in your game. How come there's no smile on your face? He's like, well, I don't want to gloat. And I'm like,
why do they listen so well?
Yeah. But I think that women probably deal with that a little bit differently than men do. I don't know.
Yeah. So
anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. So let's start talking about your podcast for a minute. So Edit Your Life podcast. Tell us how you came up with it, what people would expect to hear when they head on over, which they can go over there now in iTunes and subscribe, right?
They sure can. Yeah, you guys are so good. So Edit Your Life, the podcast is, I host it with Asha Dornfest, who is the wonderful woman with whom I wrote Minimalist Parenting. And, our book came out about 4 years ago, which is sort of crazy to think. But last year I was just feeling like, man, I have all of these ideas sort of not just in the parenting lens, but related to work and productivity and relationships and all these things I wanted to talk about, really about streamlining life and, you know, kind of chipping away at the crap and, you know, so you can get on to the good stuff. And so like, this is kind of the way I approach the world, but I had this idea and then I said, okay, you just need to do this with me. So just, I'll get it all set up and let's go. And
hey, welcome to Kim and Jackie's world.
Exactly. Right. You just get things done. So it's wonderful. Yeah. And it's a weekly podcast. We launch on Thursdays, and it's been so great. You know, I'm so passionate about community building and connecting with people and problem solving. So, you know, it's always our favorite to hear from our listeners and hear what their issues are and to try to tackle them in the show. So it's been such a joy. And as I'm sure you guys know, the ability to, you know, I'm a writer, but the ability to just unpack and riff a little more casually on air is just so fantastic. It's great.
Podcasting has given, I think, so many people, whether they're bloggers or digital influencers or experts, authors, you know, just this new avenue to, there's so much freedom, you know, and I love hearing whether it's a host or a guest kind of work out their thoughts and their feelings. It's not like this, you know, when we write and we edit and we write again and we change it and we, you know, even if you have something up, it's like, oh, I'm going to go up and change that. That's not what I,
right.
You know, and when you have a podcast, it's out there, you know, it's like the imperfections and all. And I think there's something, I love listening to other people's podcasts and getting ideas and, you know, collaborating. And because I just think that there's such a raw, thoughtful way to kind of work things through.
Yeah. I mean, I become more invested in the hosts and guests that I listen to as I hear them. And I also this is sort of humorous, but also real, but podcasting has helped me accept myself too, because I used to hate my voice. And in our first couple episodes, whenever I was listening to them, I'd be like, oh gosh, I hate my voice. It's awful. And then I got over it. And now I'm kind of like, whatever.
This is
so I'm
it.
like, yes, self-acceptance. I love that.
That's funny because I find your voice to be so calming.
Yeah. I feel like I'm listening to like KOST, like Coast, Love Lines. Remember when they did
more of like an NPR?
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Sweaty balls. Yeah.
But you know, and then I hear myself, and I'm like, you know, I'm the same way.
Right? So we all criticize ourselves.
Past it yet, though, like you have. So I'll have to follow that. And so minimalist parenting and edit your life, do they kind of overlap when it comes to the message?
Yeah, there's some overlap. I mean, we really are about kind of making change with baby steps and, you know, acceptance. And yes, they are related, though the Edit Your Life podcast definitely branches into more general lifestyle stuff. And then also, you know, Asha and I have both been very fired up post-election. So we've covered activism and, you know, how to make a change and, you know, the current climate and stuff. And that's been really exciting to be able to do that. You know, those were waters we were not necessarily wading in before. So that's been a really cool development.
Why do you think, I think a lot of people, and Jackie and I think have probably talked more politics than before. I mean, we did before, but I think the country feels more passionate one way or the other since it. Do you feel like you lost listeners, gained listeners? Were you worried about how that would impact your audience and your fan base if you started to travel down that path?
We talked about it a little, and you know, we were saying, oh well, you know, we're not really a politics podcast, and then we realized, you know, the issues happening now touch every single human being in the country, whether or not they choose to accept that or look at it. And, you know, it is important. It's part of life. We were just actually recording an episode this morning where, you know, Asha was telling me that sex and frequency of sex and, you know, couples kind of connecting has plummeted since the election. I mean, I feel like everything emotional has been impacted. So that's why we just kind of said, you know what, we'll kind of keep mixing in our kind of general lifestyle things and parenting things, but these issues are important and they mean a lot to us. So we're keeping on, and people have responded positively to it.
Well, I think when Jackie and I started our podcast, you know, we were like, oh, do we tackle politics? Because I'm not so smart about politics. And we took the same line of thinking that you just did about how it impacts us on a social scale and how it trickles into your life. And I have a person in my life that has lost friendships. She has shut out family members. It has really taken it to a whole other extreme. And so I've been fascinated about how people communicate with each other, and and I think it just goes back to human nature and where people feel indignant, about certain issues. And I mean, do you and Asha have the same point of view when it comes to certain things in that realm?
Yeah, I would say we're similar. And the really important thing to us when we talk on the podcast about political things is that it's not we're not trying to blame. We're not going one way or the other as far as we're not trying to make people feel worse about a situation that's already pretty dire. We're really looking for, how do we move forward from here? How do we make change? How do we care about the things and show that we care, about certain things, whether it's nationally or in our community. She's doing a lot of work on a community level to sort of organize women in Portland, Oregon. And it's great. Everybody will intersect with it where it works for them. And I think, our model is generally like love and acceptance and unicorns. So we just kind of adjust that lens depending on the topic we're talking about.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting too that, I think we have a responsibility. I've been really thinking about, those people who are like, oh, I don't want to talk politics at all. Like, I don't necessarily discuss it or post things on my personal Facebook page. Mostly because I don't think that that's my most effective way to reach other people in that, for those topics. But, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm just not getting into it. And I feel like it's a very privileged thing to say. Like, I'm not going to do anything, and I'm just going to see how it plays out, because like, how great is it that you get to just see how it plays out? Like, there are.
And boy, oh boy, is that a hard topic to touch on. I mean, talking about privileges, that is by far the most difficult thing that I've tried to have conversations with people about. And, we have to keep having the conversations. They are exactly what you said. And it's tough. It's tough work, but it's important work.
I think that when somebody is told that they have white privilege and they get defensive, it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have gone out and sought it. It just exists. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't face necessarily the same obstacles as a person of color or someone who's gay or, transgender, or, there are so many groups that are, have such a long road ahead of them that if not those with privilege, who is going to get the fight done? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess because I'm one of those that's just like, I'm just the titles and the categories. I feel like all it does is create more dissension. And I think it's not that I don't recognize that I am white and that my life has been different than other groups, but when we keep putting people into categories, I feel like it limits us, or in some ways it doesn't have the effect that it's supposed to. Like, we're supposed to be bridging, and we're supposed to be thinking, and we're supposed to be collaborating. And when you keep putting people in all these different categories, all it does is separate us. And so I think for me, when you talk about white privilege, it puts me over here when I'm actually trying to be over here mingling and collaborating and coexisting, that when you put me in the white privilege box, you've shut me out in some way. And so I think that's where people sometimes get frustrated, because it's like, well, but I don't think of myself. I'm just living my life, and I'm trying to do right, and I'm trying to be an activist. I'm trying to be. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Christine? I mean, this is an ongoing conversation with Jackie and I.
See, we don't always agree.
Well, it doesn't have to be an agreement. It's just it's a perception. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is challenging, and I mean, you could dedicate many episodes to this one topic because it is so hard. I think that I think it all starts with listening and being open to listening and learning. And I think what I've seen, personally, and this past fall, I had somebody who I thought was a friend basically, tell me, you're opening up the can of worms on racism, and if you don't like it here, go somewhere where you would feel more accepted. And I was like, wow, okay, that was new and different.
So what do they mean? New York? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I already live in Boston, right?
Yeah.
But, she was like, go back to Korea, if you don't like how you're getting treated here. So I think part of the problem with that conversation and how that was unfolding is that she was just so in a stance of such defensiveness, and was not able to listen or hear or be open to any of that. And I understand, a lot of people feel like when anybody says I think the term privilege is really, really hard, and it really conjures up the silver spoon in the mouth. And so the arguments I kept hearing back were, I work hard, I'm a good person. And I was like, I know that, and this is an important thing to learn about. So I think it just, at the baseline, we just all need to be open to listening and learning, even when it stings a little.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you, because I think that, it can be, you have white privilege. And of course, like, it makes me go, oh, and feel bad. Like I've been just slapped on the nose with the newspaper. You know what I mean? Like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think it's our job to go really like dig deep and look inside and go, yeah, you know what? I've never walked down the street and felt like I'm going to be pulled over, by a police officer and have my ID checked just because of how I look, or, no, but people don't make assumptions. I mean, the thing is, people make assumptions over everybody, whether you're tall and you're short, or you're the color of your skin, or you're heavy or you're thin, or you're, all of it. But I think that the assumptions go that step further when it comes to racism, obviously, where they're treated differently, or, I just think that we, I'm famous for my terrible analogies. But when you think about, like, Kim, the work that you do with students, right? So Kim runs a nonprofit, and she helps kids with so many different areas of their lives, junior high and high school. Those kids were either born or raised or put into situations that make them vulnerable, that make them need somebody to stand up for them and show them a new way. And I think that's really what privilege is the ability to not be a victim to all of this extra stuff, and to say, hey, this doesn't happen to me, so I'm in a good place to stand up for you. Right.
Yeah, I think, and that's where, discussion of allies and things could come in. But yes, yeah.
So, you talk about it on your, the resistance and all that on your podcast, but you and your husband also kind of came up with a more creative way to combat the negativity. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is again, and I suspect this is kind of how you guys do things too. But, I back in the fall, or actually back last year, I just kind of kept saying, and I used to have a design business, and then I shuttered it several years ago because it was just too much. But I kept saying, wow, I really think that would be really funny on a t-shirt, or I like this t-shirt, but I don't like the font. I'm totally a font snob. So my husband, John, was like, why don't you just make your own t-shirts? Like, stop, like, I'm going to go buy you a heat press so you can just stop talking about the t-shirts and just make the ones you want. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I made a few just kind of for my own amusement. And whenever I posted one on Instagram, people would freak out and would be like, where can I get that shirt? And I was like, oh, I'm not selling them. And then somebody's like, you got to sell these. These are so awesome. So in the fall, just after Thanksgiving, John and I had been talking about it a little bit, and we decided to open up shop. And it's called Brave New World Designs. You can find it on Etsy or at bravenewworlddesigns.com. And the thing I love about it is, well, one, the tees are like, the design is stylish and they're cool looking. But each shirt, 20% of the profits go to a different charity that's related to the shirt. So, the Smash the Patriarchy shirt benefits Planned Parenthood, or the Maxine Waters face.
I love that one.
Congressman Maxine Waters, that benefits Emily's List, which is an awesome organization that's really supporting women and training them to learn to run for office. So there's just, it's been a creative way to channel my distress about the current state of things. And it feels good. It's been really, really fun to do. And it's the first time my husband and I have worked on something together.
How's that going?
That's a whole other show.
I'm like, way to bury the lead.
Well, yes, it is. It's different, because I'm used to just, I've been in internet land for over 10 years. So I'm used to just having an idea and then taking it and making it go live. And now I actually have to I guess it's not different from how I work with Asha, but I have to we run things by each other now and bring ideas together. So I will say it's been, very helpful in helping us learn how to communicate better. And he's a therapist, so that also helps a lot.
Do you feel like he's always analyzing you when you talk?
I don't. He actually is kind of sometimes he's like, Christine, I can't be your therapist. If you really need to talk to somebody about this, then I think you need to go to see somebody.
Oh, I like him.
But I'm like, oh, I'm already in my PJs. This is so comfy.
You're like, you're much cheaper.
And he is really talented. He's so good at unpacking things. So I try not to rely on him as a therapist, but every now and then I sneak in an issue or two.
Well, I think that's part of the job. If you're married to a doctor, it's like, I'm not going to go to
right.
But that's
right.
one of the perks.
Do my strep test at home.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, I'll how about this? Give me 10 minutes and I'll design your business cards.
There you go. So go back a little bit, because one of the things that we talk about on the show on a regular basis is the pivot. Where we're going down one. Oh, Kim, go ahead. Do it.
Pivot.
We have to make a Friends reference.
Oh, yes. I gotcha. I'm with you.
Almost every episode includes a Friends reference. Yeah. This one now too. But so women who are mostly women, but also some men, but who are doing one thing, they're successful at it, or they're enjoying it, but there's something missing, and they kind of stop and reassess and take a totally new direction. And you did that years ago, yes?
I did that, yes. So I was basically in the academic trajectory. I have a PhD, and my last stop was a very fancy sounding postdoctoral fellowship here in Boston at Mass General Hospital, MIT, and Harvard Medical School. So very, very fancy sounding. I studied music and brain science, and I was in a neurology department, and it was all very stressful and actually, not as exciting as it sounded, the actual day-to-day lab work. So when I was doing this postdoc, that is when I had my first baby, Laurel, who is now 12. So that's pretty crazy. And also my dad got very sick and was kind of in his last year of life. And, stuff like that, as you guys know, really helps you reassess and think about what really matters. And at that point, I was on the brink of applying for faculty jobs. And I was like, man, I'm good at this work. I can do it, but I just don't have the fire that some of my, friends from grad school who just love it, just are in it. And I just didn't have that fire. And I didn't want to kind of make the sacrifices you have to make in order to be a junior faculty member in the Boston area. I mean, it is tough. And so I decided to leave, and I also had a very dysfunctional relationship with my supervisor, my postdoc supervisor. So kind of all signs were pointing to the exit. And I just felt like, man, if I'm going to be working, I want it to be something I really care about. And that was kind of when it all happened. And, my husband at that time, he was in a very stable job and he had our healthcare going. So he's like, just do it. Leave. It doesn't matter if you have a net. Sometimes you need to leave when you don't have things in place. In order, you need to have open space in order for good things to come in. And, within a week of leaving academia, I landed my first kind of freelance contract. So universe listened.
Wow. And what kind of work was the freelance contract?
I was doing, editing and writing work. And at that time I had also launched Boston Mamas already, and it was starting to pick up and sort of crazy opportunities were coming through that. So I was like, I'm going to just follow my nose with this and see where it goes.
Is there any part of you that wonders what your life would have looked like if you stayed in that world? Do you fantasize ever about what it?
I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what it would have looked like. And a lot of my friends, who I'm connected with on Facebook, from grad school are, they are doing the lab work. They are being professors and they're awesome. And I love that they're continuing to do that. Just for me, I think one of the challenging things actually with academia is it's such, there aren't really many short-term rewards, the publishing cycle and all these things. And I remember when I first hit the publish button on my first blog post at Boston Mamas, and I was like, boop, oh my gosh, now it's live. Like that short-term reward, like really almost never happens in academia. So I think it was a personality fit thing too.
Right.
And when I left academia, I had several friends say, "Oh, good. I was kind of wondering when you were going to do that. Like you're such an extrovert. Like the idea of you sitting by yourself in a lab, like just never really worked for me." So,
Right. How did you end up on that path? Was that something you thought you liked? Was it pressure? Was it how did you get there?
yeah. So I went to my undergrad was Wheaton College in Massachusetts, a really fantastic small liberal arts school. And when I was there, I was a double major in music and psychology, like all good Korean children. I played violin. And I just started to see these connections between the two fields, and then quickly learned that there was a whole, this was a whole line of scientific inquiry. So I decided to pursue grad studies. And, when I was at my undergrad, I was just so inspired by my professors there. They changed everything for me. I didn't used to identify as a smart person, and it wasn't until I got to college where I really found my feet academically. So my dream was to become a professor and go back and teach at Wheaton. So that was really my driving force for my whole career in academics.
So kind of giving back to where you received.
Yeah. And now instead I'll like go back every now and then and give a talk and talk about the internet and entrepreneurism and that kind of stuff and connect in that way. So I do it in a different way now, which is great. It's such a great school.
I think that, I'm just thinking about how your path got you to where you are now, that we think that we have to go a certain direction to achieve what we want to achieve. And so it's fascinating that, there you are speaking. You're doing exactly what you wanted to do. You knew what the goal was, to go back and to make an impact at that school, but it didn't necessarily have to look the way that you originally thought. And I think that's what's so interesting with entrepreneurship and the pivot and all these different freelance ways of living, that it's just kind of like broaden your mind a little bit to see other ways to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah, that's, I'd never really paralleled that until, you, smart girl.
I'm wicked smart too.
Yeah, you're wicked smart. But just a couple weeks ago, I was doing I do speaking gigs in various places, and I was doing one of them, and it felt very much, I had a moment flash of like, oh, this was kind of like what it was, like back when I would teach a class or something. But yeah, and it's great. It's just, it does make me happy, and I love connecting with people, and I just get to do it around a different subject matter now.
So what do you think the biggest challenges for women that are in the position that you were in, that want to make the pivot but can't or are afraid of it? Like or maybe is that the challenge, and what do you say to those people?
I think it's funny. I have a good friend who self-defines as risk averse. So when she made her pivot, her name's Paige Lewin, and she runs a fabulous interiors company called Tess and Ted Interiors. And she was in marketing and communications before that. And I think it's just hard because there are so many moving pieces and little details. There's, setting up your LLC and a website and all these little things. And, I happen to know how to do a lot of the creative, design your own logo and make a website and all those things. And I don't mind chasing down the details to figure out how to start an LLC. But for a lot of people, it is, very real and overwhelming and a little daunting. So I totally get that. So, one thing I always tell women is see where you can trade creative services with people to help you get where you need to go, and, for example, I needed photographs done, like headshots or something. And I traded design services, and, just see where you can help one another out. And that is the best way, that we can all rise up. I don't want to sound too cheesy, but it's totally true.
But if someone's in that, like, I don't even know where I would start. I mean, Jackie is the queen of connecting people. And I know I have people in my network, but I don't even know where to start. Like, what do you, I mean, if someone's just sitting there paralyzed with what's my first step? I mean, I've identified that I want to,
Yeah. You know what? I think the first step actually and it's also a little scary for people, but it is to actually put it out there that you are looking for help and what it is. Because I think a lot of us have trouble. Well, I'm sure you guys have covered this, that, women typically have a lot of trouble asking for help or saying that they need help with something or don't know how to do something. And it can be a little scary to do that. But, I remember a few years ago, I was at a point where, Boston Mamas was humming along, various things were humming along, and I had been doing some one-off strategic consulting, just social media kind of consulting stuff with clients and one-off as they came along and people asked. But I was sort of like ready to make more money. I was kind of like, I want to make more money and I'm really good at this and I should do more of this kind of consulting stuff. And so it was very scary because we all assume everybody else is really busy, right? Mm-hmm. But I put out the feelers to a few people and said, I actually have time now and I'm looking to ramp this part of my life up. And I immediately got, 2 offers, like one at an agency where I'd be sort of going downtown and then another where I could do it completely out of my home office. And, but it was a matter of both of them said, no way, I didn't think you had any time. Oh. So I think it's so hard to put ourselves out there, but it's so important, because otherwise people just assume you're booked up and you don't have time, or you don't need help.
Well, we had a guest on recently who was nervous to attach a financial claim to what she thought she was good at. She was like, well, I've been doing this, but now I'm going to charge people. And she said that elevated it to a whole other level because now there's an expectation that people are going to pay me for what I think I'm good at. I mean, did you ever struggle with those kinds of feelings?
I used to struggle with how to assign value. I mean, and I think that's especially tough in, such a new, when the internet was like, and blogs and things, when it was all so new, there were just no standards. It's still a little bit of a wild, wild west, but, I just started to follow my instinct and actually, my husband and I have this game, like when we're going to make a donation somewhere or give somebody a gift or whatever, we both kind of come up with a number in our head and just like an instinct number and then share it and see how we land out if we're, in the same ballpark. And I do something similar with work when I'm looking at projects. I'm like, okay, how much do I want to do this? And, what do I think my time is worth? Sometimes I'll back it out a little more logistically into how many hours I think it'll take and what I want to get paid an hour. And now after enough practice, I'm great at it. I'm like great at assigning value and just saying, yep, this is what I want. And if people try to lowball me, I'm like, okay, bye. Because I always feel like, I don't feel like that helps anybody. It doesn't help women to undervalue themselves or to say, or to, pitch a number and then receive a lowball offer and then go after it. I don't think that helps the system either. So I really feel like, we need to have confidence that if we keep putting out good work and doing good work, more opportunities will come.
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes women get stuck where it does become that like, well, how long will it take me? So what's my hourly rate? And then I'll put that out there. But when you get to a certain point of experience, a certain place in your life, your brain is worth more than your time.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I try to remind myself of that every time I take a new job or talk to a sponsor or whatever it is, because I'm like, all of this experience is not just an hourly rate. It's like you have to value that.
And it's the community you've built, so that's a whole nother factor, in the equation. So there's definitely a lot going on and it can be really tricky, but I think it also, one of my favorite other things to recommend to women is to kind of build your little secret squirrel cabinet, of trusted people. And I have a few of those, in my industry who I know we can be totally honest and ask each other questions, bounce rates off each other. And it's so helpful to just, have a sounding board of a few people that you can go to, either in a group or just one-on-one.
Yeah. And I think the work that you do and, some of the stuff that we do here, you end up making these friendships with people that maybe you've never even seen in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially business-wise, those trusted confidants, like who you can kind of throw these ideas around. I have one in particular in Florida, and we chat all the time, and I've never met her in person. And that's bizarre to me, because I've known her for 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. Asha and I, it was 3 years into our sort of online friendship that we finally met in person. And we shared a hotel room in New York, which isn't as seedy as it sounds. We were there for a conference, but it was just funny to us that and to this day, we feel we're just so close. We, email and text pretty much every day, but we actually don't see each other in person, maybe once, hopefully twice a year. Actually, I'm going to see her this weekend, so I'm very excited. But, yeah, it's really amazing how these digital relationships can be so nurturing.
Yeah.
So what does Laurel say, for example, about what you do? Like, what's the impression?
Yeah, I think she has an understanding. She's 12, so I have a 12-year-old, and then Violet is 5 years old, almost 6 years old, and they just kind of know that mom does a lot of things, and that mom does a lot of things on the internet. Although I will say that now with the shirt business, which is running basically out of our house, that's a really fun way for them to see the actual physical product associated to what I do. Right. So yeah, I think if Laurel tries to describe what I do to people, she says that I'm a writer and a designer. I think those are the easiest kind of tags she can assign to what I do.
Well,
funny,
they also, see you being that, boss out there. Doing your thing. And I think it's important, I was just watching a video today that we're going to post on Facebook that with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she was talking about like having her daughter and going to law school and the whole thing. And like, I don't know about you. I mean, Violet's still little, but did you feel like ever like I can't necessarily move forward because I have these two kids, and then you get to a point one day that you're like, I have to move forward because I have two kids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Both my husband and I we're both freelance and independent contractors. He has his own therapy practice, so it is interesting to me. These two girls are growing up in a household where. I mean, I'm very lucky. We're about as 50-50 parenting as you could possibly imagine. And, they're growing up seeing their parents build their own businesses and make things and be stressed out sometimes. But also, we all come together at dinner almost every night. And I'm really grateful that they can see that. And, as somebody, I grew up in a very, Korean patriarchal household where my mom was totally like the woman behind the man. She ran everything, but was totally silent in it all. Like, I love that my girls can see that I am working, I am making money, I am contributing to the family, and that's something to be proud of. And that's something to be excited about. And that doing good work is really, really valuable. So I feel really, really lucky that they can see that every day in and out.
Well, and that you're in a relationship that is supportive of that. I mean, I think,
yeah,
there's good modeling there for your girls to go out into the world and seek a relationship that's similar if that fits for them. But I mean, that's something I think that we don't value as much. Just to have our children see us in relationships that are supportive and respectful and collaborative and kind
and yes, and although I will say that Laurel at 12, she is still in the ew, that's gross, stop kissing kind of thing.
But that just makes me do it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think, it's good for them. The flip side of that is I really think it's important for them to see us respectfully disagree and come to the other side of things. I know that, we're in a parenting culture right now where parents don't really want their kids to be uncomfortable. They don't want them to be bored. They don't want them to suffer. And it's all well-meaning. Like, truly, I think it's well-meaning, but we got to let kids be a little uncomfortable so that they can figure out how to cope with that and do stuff on their own moving forward.
We need to have you back for an entire hour on this topic.
I feel so exhausted by all this other. I mean, my kid is probably more uncomfortable. like deal with it, kid.
Yeah. So totally. But we are running out of time. Sad, but we'll have to have a panel of parents talking about this because I think it's really important because everybody's trying to like make their kids so happy that they're going to create very unhappy people. But Christine Koh,
they all have trophies, so there you go. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll have you on again. Have a great weekend. Bye. So she's just so smart. She's wicked smart.
She's wicked smart.
And so, well, I love the way she communicates her ideas. You know, sometimes I listen to people like that and I'm like, I need to slow down and be calm. And then I realize that's not me.
Well, you know, I mean, it takes practice. Maybe you should be taking the Myers-Briggs assessment that I participated in.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that next week too?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're running out of time.
Christine Koh, if you want to find out more information, just check us out on our Broadscast Facebook page.
We'll link to all of her wicked awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening this week. Huge shout out to John Cittadino and Julie Scroy, who went over to our Patreon page. So you can do that too and support us. Thanks for listening.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.